Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Our Years. This is Barry.
I'm Rima.
So I think this is a very relatable phase in our life where, you're in your 30s and you're dating, single. And because I think we were the generation of dating apps, basically, I think it makes sense that everybody's kind of going through a phase of like dating fatigue. Fun fact, Rima just told me this morning, but dating fatigue is
a relatively new term. It started being used popularly only around 2018.
Yeah, do you want to describe what it is?
So basically dating fatigue is typically focused on dating app fatigue. It's when you've been on the apps for either a short time or a long time. The duration really doesn't matter, but you're so affected by your experience on the app that you're sort of like demotivated to continue being on the app, and you're looking for ways to stop. It's almost like you need app rehabilitation is the joke that we made. And so a lot of times people either like they cold turkey, they just delete the apps, or they find ways to like meet other people in real life.
Yeah, exactly. And this came up because like roughly, I want to say like 2 months ago, so I had been on the apps for like a year or so after my last relationship.
It feels like such a long time, but a year,
really,
when you say it, is really not like such a long time, but it feels like decades have passed.
Especially when you're like dating people on off, right? It's in between. It's not seriously like a year and you're like not dating, right? And I was like dating people here and there for a couple of weeks at a time and then going back on because that didn't work out. And then ultimately like 2 months ago, I think I got to a phase where I kind of recycled the people based on my filters.
Right. So you're seeing the same people.
Yeah. So I was like seeing, it was like I had almost finished the people that I was kind of looking for based on my filters. And then like it kind of like restarted showing me the same people. And at that point I was just kind of like, wow,
you finished Hinge.
It's absolutely wild. And I think I just was at the realization that there's no point in being on the apps if it's showing me the same people, and I've dated already the people that I think are people I'm attracted to. And if that didn't move forward in any direction, what is this new cycle with the same people going to do for me?
Right.
And so then I kind of deleted the apps, and that was like 2 months ago. And then I've been telling like Rima, like I am going to start doing this thing where I'm going to meet people in person, and Rima's like, how am I gonna do it? And I'm just like, I'm gonna make eye contact, and then I'm gonna smile at them, and then start a conversation.
What a formula. I can't believe it's not worked.
Listen, I've made some friends, okay? And I think like it's been good. It forces me to be more social. I feel like we're in an age where everything's like digitalized, and so people almost forget like social skills. I think
that's true.
People almost forget how to start conversation, or without the intent of like dating, just starting conversation just to be
have
friendly.
Have a conversation for the sake of having a conversation.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people forget to do that, so I think it's been really nice for me to kind of do that, and even though it's a little difficult because it's digitalized, so a lot of people are on their phones and it makes it hard to approach,
right?
But in situations where maybe I'm like doing a hobby that I enjoy, you're doing an activity, right? So you're not on your phone. That's when it's like easy to start a conversation with someone. And surprisingly it's been okay, and people have responded in a good way. And it's not like I started a conversation with the intention of dating them. It was just simple as starting a conversation, and I think it's been good. Although I will say that nothing has come out of it for the last 2 months.
You made a friend?
I made a friend at golf. I gave him a compliment. I actually told a guy friend this, and he was very impressed. He was like, good for you, Barry. That's actually very smooth. Because I think the guy was playing in the
adjacent.
Yeah, in the bay next to me. And he made a really good shot. So I just made a comment, and I was like, wow, that was such a perfect shot. Like, and to be honest, like I struggle with that particular it was a it was a driver. So like the one with the bigger head, and I struggle with that one, and he made like consistently really good shots. And so I was just like, hey, like, can you give me some tips? And that's how we struck up a conversation. And for like at the end of it, we had a conversation for like 20 minutes, and it turns out we have a lot of things in common. He went to Cornell, and both in tech, and we exchanged numbers, and I think it's as simple as that, you know, starting up a conversation. Like obviously, like it's with, if you go in with the intention of, you know, you want to date with this person, I think it makes it harder to be more friendly. So I didn't have that intention, and we exchanged numbers, and although like we didn't see each other after, so that's why Brima's like, friend is kind of
A loose
term, which is fair. But what I'm trying to say is it's really so simple. Like if you start a conversation and just be friendly and good natured, I think it's easy to expand your community and circle that way.
I personally am feeling dating fatigue from the apps, less dating fatigue and more app fatigue. For me, it's because I feel like these apps, because they have to stay relevant, they keep gamifying how you have to be on it. I'm just like, if I think you're attractive and you think I'm attractive, just like let's have a conversation. Like let's just go. I don't want to play all these games, which is on the app. Like you have to like respond in certain time, otherwise you get points deducted, and then you go down a leaderboard, and it's like, I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
So the gamification of the apps is what I'm finding fatiguing. Like, and also, if I'm having multiple conversations with people, and you have to, right? If you have to, like, if you want, like, it's like a numbers game. You talk to like 5 people, you think 2 are attractive, you go to 1 date.
Yeah.
And so I understand all of that in theory, but it's really hard to do when you're on the app. There's multiple conversations, and I don't want to seem ingenuine on the apps. Like I do want to talk to people about like what they're telling me and be present.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of energy. Also, my job is very being on in meetings all the time, all day. And so at the end of the day, I feel like really like just fatigued, like socially as well.
Right.
And so it's hard to be on the apps and be my full self that I know I can be, and who I want to present on the app, right? Because I don't want to be this like doom and gloom person on the app. Like that comes later. that comes later once they've fallen in love with me.
Then you can show your doom and gloom.
Yeah. And so I think that's my thing now, that it's like, it just takes a lot and it feels like it's more work, right? And I feel like there was a time when it used to be fun, when I could just be on the apps and it was just fun getting to know people.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, is it a sign of the times? Is it like, I also know that just we live in SF where a lot of people are in tech. And so I know it's also not a great time to be in tech right now, right? There are so many layoffs. People are really worried about their jobs. So I feel like there's also stress outside of the apps that people are dealing with. And so I think that's translating to how they are on the apps, right? Like how I said, I don't want to be all doom and gloom on the apps. I feel like a lot of people are. Like literally this guy the other day sent me like an essay of like how shitty apps are. And it was my first interaction with him.
This.
And so I was like, I don't want to.
How did that go?
I unmatched him. And so I don't want to be like, I don't want it to be an echo chamber where I'm just discussing with people how shitty the apps are, like on my first interaction with them, right? I want to actually get to know them, and I want them to get to know me. And even if it's platonic, that's fine. But I don't want it to be like this big,
right?
Like I said, echo chamber where we're just like bitching about the apps.
Yeah. And, you know, like a lot of people, you know, say all the good ones are taken. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think there are a lot of good guys out there. It's just a matter of finding them in the right places at the right time. And obviously dating apps are one way to do it, but there are multiple other ways to do it, which is what we wanted to chat about, right? Like now that we have this dating fatigue, what are other ways that we can leverage and find or build a network where we can find potential to date. So yeah, Rima and I went on a journey of like finding information off of Reddit, because that's where the people gather.
They do be gathering
to discuss these things. And we were thinking like, we can't be the only ones feeling this, right? And I think a lot of our friends are in long-term relationships actually, so we don't really feel it among our friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think with people maybe on the apps, when they come straight up to you and saying how bad like the apps are, that's one way that we've noticed that people are actually feeling the fatigue. But then also on Reddit, it's saying a lot. So we wanted to like read through some of the comments that we've seen on Reddit, and then also kind of give you guys ideas, as well as providing ourselves with ideas on how we can meet people outside of dating apps. Like I said, we went on this journey of looking at if other people are feeling the same thing, and one that I came across of this person's experience. So the post was people here who ditched dating apps and tried in real life, what was your experience? The post says, seriously considering ditching all dating apps and trying my luck out in real life. If you have done this, what was your experience and how did you navigate meeting or approaching someone? So basically what we were talking about, right? One of the comments on this post that I really liked and kind of like shows that, you know, there are certain ways that you can meet people that are successful. So this guy says, the best thing you can do is start friendly conversation with people of all ages when out and about in everyday life. If I'm at the grocery store or in line waiting to get a coffee somewhere, I will strike up a conversation with someone around me. Could be an old man, lady, mom, dad, anyone really. Doing this helps to make it easy to have that conversation when you run into someone whom you actually find attractive and would like to speak with. Using an indirect method of conversation is simple. For example, last week I was at Trader Joe's and was looking at avocados. An attractive woman was doing the same. I said, finding the perfect avocado is an art, right? And she responded, I know, I feel so bad touching many of them trying to gauge its ripeness. That led to a 10-minute conversation, which was nice. I asked for her number at the end and we have been in touch since with a date incoming soon. It's not creepy to speak with people and to be nice. Most people are starved for conversation and just having simple and enjoyable interactions has been great. I've been turned down plenty of times when asking a woman if they would like to exchange numbers or meet for a coffee sometime. It's all good. I let them know I enjoyed speaking with them and wish them the best and a great day. And I think like that's so nice, you know, like that's such a good way to like approach meeting people. And it's funny because I was like telling Rima that this is my new approach to meeting people. So I actually saw online a video and this guy, he has like kind of, I forget his name, but he's actually quite popular on Instagram.
Okay.
And he talks about like dating and all the strategies.
Right.
And he explains PES, so the acronym PES, P for proximity, E for eye contact, and S for smiling. So he explains that, ladies, you have to put yourself in close proximity to someone. Okay, maybe this applies for men too, right? So just putting yourself in close proximity to someone that you find attractive, making sure that they can see you and you can see them. And then given the opportunity, make eye contact with them. And once you do, smile at them. And I was like, that's so simple.
It is so simple.
I think it actually works. And I think like that's something that I told Rima, and she was like, how hard can it be?
Yeah. I'm like, we look at people, make eye contact all the time and smile all the time. And the other day we went to the Fillmore Jazz Festival and we were walking around Fillmore, and then I could talk and smile to people who I was not interested in so easily. so easy. It was like, how is this a hard thing? Like, I can't believe this man has made a video about this. And then there was like a person I thought was attractive, and then I tried to make eye contact with them, and then I was like,
immediately you were like, no.
I was like, oh my god, I'm such a wimp.
And then she turns to me, I didn't even know that this was all going on because we were just walking, and she turns to me and she goes, Barry, I'm so shy.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, it's so difficult. I think it's worse because you sort of build it up in your head when you think someone's attractive, but literally if you don't if you don't think about it, and if you're just talking to someone like just a stranger and you're just having a conversation, it's so easy to talk to them. At least I think it's easy for us to talk to people because we're sort of like extroverted and we like talking to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people say we're chatterboxes.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but I think it's like I personally built it up in my head. Yeah. I'm immediately like, oh my God, how do I come across? I come across as desperate. I come across as a creep. And what if this person doesn't reciprocate? And then like, I'm already thinking about rejection when in the first like 3 seconds of making eye contact with someone, which is ridiculous.
But that's what you shouldn't do.
Yeah, thanks.
But I think that's the thing, right? Like, I think what makes that so hard, like meeting people in person, is because everyone, it's not just you, right? Like I do the same. Everyone like builds it up in their head because you want to give a first good impression to the person you're attracted to, right? Yeah. And typically that entails you being very conscious about how you come across, how you're behaving, right? But when you're like making friends, you don't really think so much because you're just like, if they're meant to be my friend, they'll accept me for who I am. Yeah. But why doesn't it apply the same for the person you're trying to date?
I guess because rejection, in a romantic sense, is worse in some ways. Or I guess all rejection is bad, but I feel like because we have I think it's like how much we put on that interaction, right? Like if you're meeting like someone and it's just a polite conversation, you're not like thinking so much about it. But I think when you're thinking of talking to someone you're attracted to, it's like this, you think the stakes are higher.
Yes.
Right.
But that's the thing, right? Like in my mind, I think you should apply it more, or not you as in you, but like in general, we should apply it more to the person we're dating, because you would rather that person be someone who accepts you for who you are.
Yeah, it's a litmus test.
Yeah, more than like friends do, right? And that's why I think like it should be the opposite, where with friends or making new friends, we're totally okay with just being ourselves. I think you should be even more yourself with the person you're trying to date.
Maybe it's also practice, right? Because we talk to people on the regular in a non-romantic setting quite frequently, so it doesn't feel like a big lift to, or a big level of effort to talk to somebody else, like a stranger in that same non-platonic setting. But we don't talk to like we don't approach people at bars, for instance, or when we are out, like with the idea of, hey, I think this person is romantic. We don't do that. So it's also like practice.
Yeah.
And so I like this post about how they talk about like practice in a low stake, low pressure environment. And so when you're ready to actually flirt, when you're prepped. You're prepped. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think that's was my whole thing with like, after I got off the dating apps, like I just tried to take the opportunity to strike up conversations with anyone, because like that builds the muscle, right? Like, it helps you kind of be okay with talking to anyone and everyone. So prepping you.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed this in the past, even when we've talked about networking for work. It's like how it is a muscle, right? And you can become better at it. It's not like you can become better at flirting. It's just because you suck at it now doesn't mean you're going to be like that your whole life. So I do like that. And I like the idea that this person posted about how you should practice in a low stake environment.
Yeah, it's true. I think what's like kind of interesting is that now that we're in our 30s, right? I think we're a lot more conscious about how we come across to opposite gender, right?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know what it is. I think after a certain age, because people are like matched up or like in coupled up, right? You think that anyone who approaches you of the opposite gender has intentions to want to date you. But I think because everybody has this mindset, people have kind of become reserved into making new friends or starting up conversations because they didn't want to come across as, I'm trying to hit on you. Right. And I think that's kind of also, it's kind of contributed to the whole, no one wants to do in-person engagements, or people are shy to do so. I think like back in the day, like before I started using dating apps, it was so easy for me to meet people because I went in with the intention of just making a new friend, right? I didn't go in with the intention of, oh, this is someone I could potentially date. And it's interesting because I've always felt like I want a partner who is my best friend as well as a lover. And if that is the case, right, like I would start off as friends with this person. But now that I've used dating apps, I think dating apps has changed my perception of like dating and approaching people. Before the dating apps, you just went into it trying to make a new friend, right? And you got to know them from a friend level. And then that then builds into maybe a romantic relationship. Whereas with the dating app, you jump directly into something romantic. And I think like that has made it very difficult going back when you're trying to meet in person, that if this is someone you want to potentially date, you want to jump into it romantically directly. And I think the stakes are higher because if they don't like you in that way, then there's no friendship and there's no like getting to know this person better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I'm guilty of this too. Like when someone does approach me, I do think it is like romantic,
unless it was a networking one.
Which funny enough, like recently someone did ask for my number and I thought it was a networking event and I was like, yeah, let's network, and then it turned out to be for a date and I was like, this person has tricked me.
But that's the thing, like I think the way he interacted with you at the very beginning was just friendly, right? And I think that's great because like you weren't upfront kind of taken aback by it and you didn't like reject him up front and you got to know him.
Right.
And I think that is better than you being up front and being like, let's go on a date, and then that person doesn't even know you yet, right? And then they just reject you up front if they don't feel it. But I think a lot of it takes getting to know the person to some degree before feeling like there's a romantic connection.
Yeah, that's true. I think also, like, I feel like people are just not making friends in real life anymore either.
That's true.
Right? Like, even if you're like, a lot of these things that we were reading about, like how do you date people in real life, it's like go to a coffee shop, like go do an activity that you enjoy and meet people through that. I feel like even friendships are not coming out of it. And I was talking to a guy friend recently, and he talked about how his older brother or his dad would make a lot of friends just playing sports, like they just play pickup sports. And he was talking about how he can't find that community right now to just even play sports. Like nobody's, and so even like for even outside of romantic relationships, even building platonic relationships is hard.
I think that was a struggle for us when we first moved here, but I think it's gotten easier once you become like regulars at a certain spots at a certain time of the week.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember, like as open play,
yeah,
then we started like getting our friends to come to open play, and then once you show up like regularly every week, then you kind of build your community there.
Yeah.
That was with pickleball. So yeah, I think like one of the things you read was like being regulars at spots from a dating coach, right?
Yeah. So this dating coach,
we've done research for you guys, summarizing here.
Okay, so this dating coach, her name is Molly Godfrey, and she talks about the law of probability, right? Which is what we were discussing, how you can't go do an activity one time and expect to meet your best friend or the love of your life through that. You have to do it consistently. And so what she says is single people are everywhere doing the same exact things you are. They're buying groceries, going to the drugstore, walking their dogs, grabbing a coffee, taking a walk break outside during the day. Plain and simple, there's an abundance of people out there to run into and meet. Understanding the law of probability, however, is exactly what one of her clients leveraged. So Molly Godfrey's client, she joined a golf club and showed up every single week. She started going out even more than once a week and then started having dinner on Wednesdays at the club. She did this for 4 months straight, no matter what. She showed up and she played every week, multiple times a week. And by month 4, she had met her now partner. So I think to summarize, right, you increase your chances of meeting someone if you show up at one place consistently. So say you go to the same coffee shop every day, depending on what time, day or week you go to, you may or may not run into someone because it's a one-off chance.
Right.
But if you go to the same coffee shop 3, 4, 5 times a week, say you work out of there, so you have a regular routine, you get your morning coffee there, or you go there like in the weekends, right? And you're increasing your chances of meeting someone. And maybe you run into regular, maybe you chat to the barista and they set you up. Side note, I went to a dinner party the other day and I met a couple who was set up by their hairdresser.
That's crazy.
Like they both had told their hairdresser that they were interested in meeting people, but they were not having success. And so this hairdresser set them up and they've been married for 10 years.
This hairdresser is honestly doing the most.
I feel like with us, we always like, anytime we go back to like India or Taiwan, that's when we do all our like
hairdressing.
Yes. And so we're not,
haircuts.
so if our person is in India or Taiwan, we're not going to meet anyone here. So we need to get a local hairdresser.
Correct.
Is my takeaway.
That is her takeaway.
Is my takeaway from
I feel like I agree. It's just being regulars at specific spots.
Yeah.
And I think like this is true, right? It's not only just like with meeting someone you could potentially date, but also just meeting new friends, right?
And building a community.
Right.
With shared interests.
Yeah. And I know that this works because I moved to Taiwan. So for context, I was born and raised in South Africa. And then I moved to Taiwan for undergrad. And I was really struggling when I first moved into undergrad because I was very different to the locals around me. And obviously, I think I made a lot of acquaintances because people are very interested in the background or where I came from.
Yeah.
And so it was easy to make a lot of friends. But for those who like really connected with me, like that was hard, right? And then over like the course of like 3-4 years while I was doing undergrad, I consistently went to gym. And so then by I think the 3rd year, the same people I saw at gym became my closest group of friends and are still my closest group of friends to this day because we just consistently showed up at the same time, like I think 4 or 5 times a week at gym.
Yeah.
And we just so happened to be there at the same time. And we were just, once we started chatting, we had so much in common and we just enjoyed spending time together and doing the same things. And so we started hanging out outside of gym and realized that we just connected in a way that was more deep than the acquaintances that were interested in my background. And they're like my closest friends back in Taiwan now, and every time I go back I hang out with them. So I think it's 100% true that once you become regulars at specific spots, you kind of meet like-minded people. Right? That makes sense.
And so basically this dating coach talks about how you need to commit to showing up every week and playing the long game, and you need to show your face. And this means that you also come across as a committed person. And so you're committing to the cause, which is to date.
Right.
And you're doing something that you enjoy. So win-win.
Yeah. Especially with doing something you enjoy, right? I think like you want to find someone who is like-minded. So doing something you enjoy not only like benefits you because you're doing something that brings you joy, then if someone else is doing the same thing, then the chances are that you're going to find someone who
is in the same wavelength as you.
Is a good fit for you.
The other thing that she mentions is you need to develop the art of doing something for your own pleasure. And so she talks about her client, right, who joined the golf club. Club. And she talked about how you need to set boundaries from your work to hone other interests if you want to meet people through those interests, right? And so you really need to commit to showing up, for instance, to your hobbies, or like show up for your passions. And sometimes you forget to do that because life gets really busy. And so that's also one way to meet a partner, is that you need to set boundaries for what you want in life. And so she talks about how her client, for instance, to master the practice for her own sense of accomplishment and pride, and to have a new hobby and activity, she didn't just pick up golf because she thought maybe I'll meet my future partner playing golf. She decided to invest time and energy learning golf simply because she thought it would bring her joy and it would help her embrace her life. She had no agenda. She was simply doing something she enjoyed. For her pleasure, which is playing golf. So it's a massive act of like choosing yourself and not caring how you're perceived by other people as the first step to actually finding someone to spend the rest of your life with, right? It's like a signal to the universe. It's like, I like myself, I like the life I'm building, I'm going to commit. And then if I meet the person along the way, then great. And the universe typically delivers. It's also about how when you're doing something for your own pleasure, you're just having fun and your most authentic self comes across, because you don't have these walls built up, right? And you're so genuine in how you come across that I think other people around you also realize that. And you're not like playing games, so to speak. You're not like, I let them make the first move and all of that. You're just being so authentic that people, if they're a person, then they'll find you attractive in that setting, right? So it's also great because you get to do something you're enjoying, you're being authentic, and then you're meeting people of the same wavelength.
I think it's so true. And I think going back to my points, I think we're so fixated on finding our person and dating that we almost forget that we need to focus on enjoying the things that we're doing, right? I think like maybe a lot of people go to golf thinking, hey, like this is a good spot to find my partner. And so like you go into it with the focus being on finding someone to date, that you almost forget to enjoy what you went there for initially, which is golf, for example. And so in that sort of circumstance, right, when you're so fixated, you're not enjoying your full self and you're not showing your most authentic self to that point. And so just logically, like someone would be more attracted to a person who is enjoying themselves and being their true authentic self than to someone who is like just distracted and like focused on other things, right? When they're supposed to be there in that moment. It's funny. I think like a lot of people say they're working on themselves instead of like dating. I think like that's the truth. When you work on yourself and you're focused on other things besides dating naturally comes in, because when you're so enjoying yourself doing those things, I think naturally you'll attract people of the same wavelength. I also think that on the apps, even when you're on the apps and people just talk about just dating, it's sort of like you have nothing else to go off of, right? As opposed to the people I feel like even when I met on the apps that I was able to have a conversation with, even platonically and romantically,
are people who I thought like had a full life, who had hobbies, who had interests outside work, who were very passionate about what they did, who had their own friends and their own life. Like that's so attractive when someone has a full life.
Yeah.
And so now when someone's like, what type of, like, what's your person, or like, how do you, like, if I were to set you up, who do you want? I always go back to my answer is that I like people who have a full life, right? And just like outside of dating.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah. I think it's interesting that we just, because of the whole online dating culture, I think we've just forgotten that we need to embrace making friends and making connections and getting to know someone before you can start a romantic relationship. I think dating apps, you're just jumping right into it. There's no basis of a friendship. And I think, to me, like, a good relationship is typically under the basis of like a strong friendship. And some people might argue, you know, like when you meet someone at like a coffee shop, maybe you're going into it asking for their number, then you go out on the date. Sure, but like at the same time, like the energy that you feel in person is different from the energy that you get off dating
100%.
apps, right?
I also like the idea of meeting people in real life, because that's the other thing. You can gauge their energy right from the onset. And maybe you also know that, hey, I'm not attracted to this person, but I think they're really interesting and I can be friends with them. You can get that also, but you don't get that on the apps, because when you meet someone on the app, the intention is that you are trying to get into a relationship or date long term, right? Typically, or hook up, whatever you want to be on the apps for. But it's very much that there's nothing outside of that, which is why when a lot of people even ask me to be friends when I meet them on the apps, and both of us are not feeling it, for instance, and they ask me to be friends, I always say no, because I don't think you can actually be friends with someone you met through an app, unless you make, like, you, for instance, have a common hobby and you continue to do that, or there's something that you both meet up regularly for. Because I feel like if I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to call up this person from the app and discuss my day with them.
You could if you wanted to.
I'm not going to. I'm going to go to my friends or my close family. I'm not going to do it with this random person, right? So I think that's the other thing, that there's no basis of friendship.
Exactly.
So how can you be friends if there was never any basis for it? So I always say no. And I don't know if people have become friends through people they've met on the apps, and if that's worked, I'd be interested to know what that's like.
Right.
But I typically say no. So that's another thing, that I'm almost like cutting off a chance of a friendship. Yeah. Because I don't believe it. But if I'd met this person randomly at a party and there was no romantic sort of innuendo or intention, then I could be like, hey, this person's interesting. And if I was doing an activity I thought they'd enjoy, I'd invite them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's just so many benefits of like meeting people in person and creating a connection through in person than dating apps.
Yeah. So this dating coach, she says that your takeaway should be to reorient your entire dating strategy. Get rid of trying to be anything for anyone else. Get rid of strategies, rules, games.
Rules.
Yeah. She's like, don't have rules. And get quiet. Learn what makes you happy and just pursue it. Show up for it and yourself, like it's the most important thing in the world. Uncover your joy and see what happens.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I guess like what I'm attempting to do. It's funny because like I think for the last 2 months I was like off the apps, right? And I wanted to, you know, be more intentional and present and just go enjoy the things that I enjoy. And then, you know, maybe when the opportunity presents itself, we'll find friends and new people along the way.
Yeah.
And then last night Rima and I were talking, and then I was just like, you know, let me just download the apps
see what's new,
because Rima was all about this whole new wave of people coming in.
Yeah. I'm like, right, there are all these people who are coming into SF for AI jobs, and I'm like, there's a whole new world out there.
Yeah. And so I was just like, okay, let's see if there's actually a whole new world. So then I go and download Hinge for like a quick minute. I was on there, did like some 100 swipes, and then I was like, I'm out. And then by this morning I deleted the apps again. So that is the state of affairs. Not to say there aren't good people on the dating apps. I think personally, I just wasn't in a place where I felt like I wanted to go through that again. And I also wanted to kind of force myself to stick and commit to my strategy of, you know, meeting people in person and being myself by going to do the things that I enjoy and hoping to meet people along the way.
Do you think you can't do both together?
I think I can, and that's why I downloaded the apps last night. I was just like, why can't I do both? Why can't I just have the apps there and then also, meet people in person? And yeah, you could. But I think the problem with apps is that you become reliant on it, right? Because it's an easy way.
It is an easy way. I will say the appeal of apps is the ROI almost, that you can spend some hours on it in a week, and you typically get a date at the end of it, right?
Right. Exactly. I think it's definitely a lot easier, and that's why your brain just kind of resorts to it because it's the easy way. And then you kind of forget that you need to be in the moment and in present and embrace the opportunities. Also, that being said, how meeting people in person, right, and going to enjoy the things that you do enjoy, that's not to say you're only focused on
having fun
right? I think there's still some degree of you needing to be open and approachable, right? So it's not just about you going to go enjoy pottery classes and you're so focused on making your clay pots.
You're unfocused on everything around you.
Yes, exactly, right.
I mean, and it's okay if you're doing that, but know that you're not going to make a friend being like that.
Exactly. So it's all about you being approachable, and releasing or giving signals that you're open to conversation with strangers.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like I personally need to work on this because I get so scared when people approach me that
tell them about the coffee shop in the book club.
I was at a book club. I was waiting for a friend, and we were starting a book club. And this person, I was using Barry's approach of smiling and engaging and in close proximity with people. And unconsciously it worked. And I was so shocked that it worked. And then I got scared when someone started approaching me that I panicked and ran away. So that is also self-work.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do the PES approach,
you need to do the A approach as well.
You got to be able to receive if it does work.
Yeah, that is true. That is self-work that I need to work. I got so scared.
When she came home and told me this, I was like, you were the one that put it out there.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh no, it worked.
And then she had to reject the guy. Yeah. What did you say to the guy?
I told him I was visiting town and I was not alone.
And he's like, yeah, right.
Yeah, he didn't believe me. He was like, he knew. He was like, sure.
Yeah. I feel like one thing is being approachable.
Yeah.
Another thing is, and being approachable doesn't mean you have to accept everyone that comes your way, right? It's
but there's a way to handle it as well. I handled it badly.
What is your improvement plan on how to handle it?
I don't know. I guess if I was to think about it right now, it would be, I think it's to not be scared,
right?
And to think beyond the fear,
right?
And to be like, hey, I'm actually meeting up with a friend right now, but maybe you can give me your number and then we could maybe grab a coffee sometime.
So you would still take the number?
I think it's easier for me to take someone's number and then reach out to them if I was interested, as opposed to give them my number.
Oh, I was thinking if I'm not interested, just to not give my number at all and think how to say that.
Yeah, I feel like I don't care if people have my number. I mean, I care if people have my number, but I don't mind taking people's number.
Yes, I also don't mind taking people's numbers.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, I mean, there's no option for you. If you weren't interested, what would you say that you weren't interested? How would your self-rejection be?
I would say I'm just here with, I'm not
you
interested.
Would still say.
I would say I'm not interested. But I wouldn't react if you saw the CCTV footage from that camera, you'd think this man was threatening me in some way. I look like I'm scared for my life. So in that sense, I'd handle it better. But I would, if I'm not interested, I would say I'm not interested.
I told Rima that she was contributing to why guys don't cold approach people anymore because of her rejection.
I mean, fair.
But yeah, that's something we're still working on, right? It's not something
approachability.
It's not something we're used to, and so it's a skill that you have to work on.
It's so weird because if you put me in a networking event, I would not have responded like that. But any prospect of romance, and I'm like a squirrel.
Yeah, so then maybe the mindset change there is you're just oh, I'm making a new friend, and let's go from there.
Yeah. But even that, you need to be in the mindset of making a friend. If you're in a coffee shop and you're there for say you need a change of scenery, and then you're just trying to do something, and then if someone approaches you, you're also going to reject that person, right? Even if it's platonic.
If you're focused on.
So then it's also hard to be on all the time, to be approachable all the time. But then I guess if the intention is that you want to meet people through that, that's what you have to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. Including things like, not have your like AirPods in.
Or be on your phone.
Yeah, or be on your phone. Maybe you can be working on your laptop, but like, look up once in a while, look around, smile at people. I think that's like a good way to show that you're approachable.
Yeah.
Another thing that I actually saw on the internet a few months ago is this woman talks about how this has really worked for her. So whenever she has like dinner plans with her friends,
Okay.
she would come to the restaurants like 10-15 minutes early, and she would go and sit herself at the bar and make conversation with the bartender. And she said that by doing this, you show that you're approachable because you're having conversation with the bartender.
Yeah.
And like you're smiling,
Yeah.
but you're not with anyone, which makes it easy for people to approach you. And at the same time, you have your 15 minutes because your friends are arriving 15 minutes later. So you actually have a way out. If things don't go well, you can just say, oh, my friends are here. They're just arriving. So nice meeting you. And then you leave. But if it's good, then you just take their number and then you follow up.
Yeah, that's a really good strategy. Because also when you're by yourself, I feel like you're more approachable to
Yes.
people than when you're in a group.
For
That's
sure.
more intimidating.
Yeah.
So you're giving this person almost like the chance to approach.
Yeah, for sure. It's also funny. I don't know if you remember our Hawaii trip the first time we went, and we got approached by like 5-6 guys in one night.
When we weren't looking.
Yeah, I think like that's the thing. When we were enjoying ourselves so much, like we were just having a laugh. So it looked like we were like friendly and approachable. And I guess it was also like a small group. It wasn't like a large group,
Yeah.
which makes it more difficult to approach.
Yeah.
I think because Rima and I were enjoying ourselves and having good conversation, people found it easy to come up to us and kind of like
Chat.
slide into the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think there's also this like setting of like it was Hawaii and most people are there for vacation,
Right.
and so it's
More
more
relaxed.
approachable, more relaxed setting, right?
That's also true. That's
Yeah.
also true. Yeah, but I think in general, just like the overall consensus is like we should just be more approachable and show that we are approachable by being friendly, smiling, talking to other people. I think I have a not so friendly or
She has a resting bitch face.
listen.
Yeah.
That's something I have to work on.
How do you plan on working on it, right?
I plan on just smiling at people randomly.
That's so psychotic.
I think it's a way of being more approachable.
Yeah.
I think I in general smile a lot. I think it's just that when I'm thinking about something or when I'm, not
They're
focused.
focused on something else.
Yes, then I obviously am not smiling and I'm thinking about something.
Yeah.
And that's when my non-approachable face comes on.
Resting bitch face. Call it as it is, right? So this dating coach, Molly Godfrey, does also talk about the importance of approachability, where you can show up somewhere like this coffee shop 5 days a week, but if you're not approachable, it's very unlikely that you're not going to
Exactly.
meet someone,
Exactly.
right? So it's not just turning up, it's also the intention of how you come across
Right.
to people.
Right.
So, and your energy is everything. If you look distracted, frazzled and closed off, or you just look judgmental,
You.
people are not going to approach you, which is fair. So she talks to her clients about doing a ton of work, about creating consistent morning routines that involve mindfulness and attention to cultivating practices. So she encourages her clients to be more grounded and more still in their everyday life. And so also to dive deep into how they want to share about themselves when they meet someone in person, right? Like, what sort of patterns do you see, or what previous partners have shown you that how do you want to come across when you meet a complete new stranger, which is good advice.
Yeah.
It's also like a lot of mindfulness that you have to work on.
Right.
So I think with this way, this coach is saying that you sort of accept yourself more and others feel more safe in your presence and they want to be around you. You come across as open, available and present with people in your life. And so you have this confidence and self-assurance that people sort of gauge when they see you for the first time. So it's almost like you become magnetic from the inside out. So the takeaway is that feeling good is an inside job. True presence, a healthy mindset, and a set of beliefs, and becoming more confident in oneself are all skills that can be learned and muscles that can be strengthened. If you're willing to do the work, and show up consistently, you're going to meet your person. And whether you use a dating app or not isn't the point. The point is that whatever strategy you use, it has to be one that you feel turned on about and aligned with.
Yep.
You can show up every day on a dating app with a crappy mindset and give off low energy. And you can go to the gym and be distracted every day and not meet anyone. Before you complain about dating apps, that you're never meeting anyone of quality or that you're there and nobody else is, check yourself. I feel like she's talking directly at us.
It's true.
Are you doing things for your own enjoyment? Are you showing up for yourself consistently? Are you self-aware and disciplined? There are a million ways to meet people. You just need to put yourself out there.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. I think and it's funny. I don't think we've been shut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I think we still put ourselves out there. I think we live a very full life. We still go and do a lot of activities.
Yeah.
I think it's just that when we're doing those activities, we're not so approachable because to us before, actively thinking about this and discussing this, when we do activities, we're kind of focused on doing that activity. Like when we go to pickleball, we're focused on playing pickleball, right? We're not there to openly meet people. I mean, we're there, we met new friends and stuff, but I think that's consistently showing up.
That's true. I think that was I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
I was just trying to be better at something.
Yeah.
Which was the playing a new sport that I had just learned. And I think the friends were a nice bonus.
Yeah.
But I don't think we were going. I think when we moved here, we were also it's really nice to meet people.
Right.
But it happened so subconsciously.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. I don't think we were there were walls around us when we were playing, or we were very authentic, and that made us more approachable.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the thing with a lot of people are when you go out, go with only a couple of friends. Don't go out with a big group so that you seem more approachable. But I feel like when we go out, we get so in the zone that other people may not find us approachable.
I think that's true. I was just telling Rima earlier that because Rima and I enjoy chatting to each other, we're such chatterbox. So when we are chatting, we're so focused on the conversation that we forget about what's around us.
So maybe there are cute guys outside
and we just don't notice.
Yeah. Yeah, Bai was telling me recently that we went to volunteer at some a food bank, and that she thought someone was trying to approach us, and I didn't grok that at all.
I felt like he was super attractive also. And I was telling Rima that I felt like he wanted to approach us, but because we were in deep conversation, he didn't know how to intercept the conversation, and so that kind of boat sailed. And I was just Rima's just cock blocking me in all directions.
I'm all for you being in proximity, making eye contact and smiling at people. I'm all for this. You know what we should do? We should go to a cafe or a bookshop or a bar and sit separately and then if it doesn't work, we'll just go and find a way to each other. Let's give it 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then if people talk to us, that's great. And we can be approachable.
Yeah.
Work on our approachability. And it'll be practice. And then if it sucks, we'll just get a drink.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. I think it's true though. I feel also though, you need to leave your house to Rima was telling me the other day, it was a Friday night and I was sitting at home watching TV.
Yeah.
And then she comes up, she's like, Barry, if you were trying to meet people, you need to leave the house.
Yeah. And
it's not I'm not trying to leave the house. I think I'm outside majority of the time. It's just Friday nights, where do you go?
Pork, apparently.
So Rima has this thing, and she says Barry, the hottest and the most attractive guys are on Pork. We've been there 4 times now, 3 times, 4 times.
See, the
Not
common denominator.
a single guy that I saw was attractive.
The common denominator is Barry. Anytime she's with me, I don't see any hot people. When she's not, I see only hot people.
My theory about that is that Rima's bar is so low when she's not together with me. But no, that's not the thing, right? And I think another thing is that we judge people by their appearance. And I think that kind of cuts off on opportunities.
Because when you go out and with the mindset that you want to meet someone romantically, then it's very much it's almost
physically, physical attraction based, right?
Yeah. So you need to sort of get over that to get to know their personality.
Right. So that's also something else we have to work on. So maybe ending up on some positive notes. I saw this post on Reddit that I thought was very cute and wholesome. So I think I wanted to read it before we wrap this up. So this was on the subreddit dating. So this guy's post is, dating in my 30s is freaking awesome. I know Reddit is a particularly negative place, but I see way too many posts on here about all the good ones are being taken or being left behind during dating in your 30s. I also used to hear a lot of pressure about in real life things like if she's still single at 30, it's for a reason. I had internalized a lot of that when I turned 30 and felt so anxious that I'd missed the train, so to speak. Well, at 35, I have to say my life is very well lived and has been completely the opposite. I love dating in my 30s. I feel personally so much more accomplished, and I know and love myself so much more than ever before. The women I date are also very self-actualized and interesting. Everything feels so intentional and communicative. We have some money to go on cool dates and interesting stories to laugh about along the way. In general, it just feels like we treat one another with more kindness and compassion that only comes with the pain of aging. And for me, that's been beautiful.
Mm.
It's true, tits are saggier and foreheads are more ample, but acknowledging and accepting one another for our flaws has been liberating too. We're all too old to be Instagram models, so now F it. If you're reading this and worried about dating in your 30s, don't give in to the negativity and BS. I think there are a lot of reasons why this might be some of our best years for romance. I was just like, that's such a nice, wholesome post and a good reminder,
I was just going to say that's a good reminder that it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, it's not. And I think like we live very full lives, and I don't think we're doom and gloom about dating. I think obviously it gets us down sometimes when we feel like that's an area of our life that we don't have under control.
I finished Bumble, Barry.
Rima was just like, I finished Bumble. I've been blocked from Hinge. What now?
Now I guess I have to be more approachable.
Correct. This is your opportunity.
Yeah. So to be in close proximity, to make eye contact and smile.
And also be receiving of when people do approach you.
You see that CCTV camera footage? I look like
we should go locate
freaking
that.
squirrel.
But yeah, now that you've like practiced, evidently it works, the PES.
Yeah.
You just got to be receiving of it. Or know how to soft reject.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that all goes to say that, there are still good things in the pipeline. It's just that you gotta take it from a different approach and view it from a different perspective, I think.
Yeah. I think if it's also like if you're in circles where everyone's just like bitching about the process, it's easy to get bogged down.
Exactly.
So I like that this reminder was sort of like, hey, it's not so bad.
Yeah. I honestly don't think it's bad. Like, I'm not so worried about it. I think like we will meet our person eventually. I think the romantic side of me is like, reminding me of that. But yeah, I think like just focus on yourself, do the things you enjoy, be approachable. And ultimately that will lead somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll start by going to some cafes and seeing if your strategy works. I think that wraps it up for today. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Toodles.
Bye.